State of the Union with John King, CNN Sunday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
Mr. President, thank you for joining
Great to see you.
I want to begin with the economy.
Yeah.
I get out of Washington every week for the show. I was in
Right.
Connecticut and Rhode Island this week.
Right.
And I knew I was going to be seeing you. So I asked 20 people, what would you ask if you had the privilege
Right.
that I have at this moment? 18 of the 20, 18 asked a variation of
Jobs.
where are the jobs? When are they coming back?
Yeah. Well, look, this is something that I ask every single one of my economic advisors every single day, because I know that ultimately the measure of an economy is it producing jobs that help people support families, send their kids to college. That's the single most important thing we can do. What we've done, I think, in the first 8 months is to stop the bleeding.
Is the recession over?
Well, I'll leave that up to the Fed chairman to pronounce whether it's officially over or not. I think what's absolutely clear is that that the financial markets are working again, that we even saw manufacturing tick up in terms of production last month. So all the signs are that the economy is going to start growing again. But here's the challenge, that not only are usually jobs figures the last to catch up, they're the lagging indicator, but the other problem is we lost so many jobs that making up for those that have already been lost is going to require really high growth rates. And so what we're focused right now on is how can we make sure that businesses are investing again? How can we make sure that certain industries that were really important, like housing, are stabilized? How can we expand our export markets? And that's part of what the G20 meeting in Pittsburgh is going to be about, making sure that there's a more balanced economy. We can't go back to the era where the Chinese or the Germans or other countries just are selling everything to us. We're taking out a bunch of credit card debt or home equity loans, but we're not selling anything to them. So that's how all this is going to fit together. But I want to be clear that probably the jobs picture is not going to improve considerably, and it could even get a little bit worse over the next couple of months, and we're probably not going to start seeing enough job creation to deal with the a rising population until sometime next year.
You think jobs will not grow? You will not be adding jobs until sometime next year?
No, I think we'll be adding jobs, but you need 150,000 additional jobs each month just to keep pace with a growing population. So if we're only adding 50,000 jobs, that's a great reversal from losing 700,000 jobs early this year, but it means that we've still got a ways to go.
Let's talk health care. The Senate Finance Committee finally has a proposal before it by the chairman, Max Baucus. It's getting some criticism from the left, some criticism from the right. I want to get to the details of it in a minute. It's also getting some important praise from the middle. I want to break down some of the details in a minute, but if the Baucus bill made it to your desk, as is, would you sign it? Does it meet your goals?
Well, that's such a hypothetical, since it won't get there as is, that I'm not going to answer that question. But can I say that it does meet some broad goals that all the bills that have been introduced meet.
Is it better than the others?
It provides health insurance to people who don't have it at affordable prices. I'd like to make sure that we've got that affordability really buttoned down, because I think that's one of the most important things, is that if we're offering people health insurance and we're saying that people have to get health insurance if it's affordable, we've got to make sure it's affordable. We're helping people who have health insurance with knowing that if they're paying their premiums, they're actually getting what they pay for. And that's been a huge problem. The people not able to get insurance because of pre-existing conditions, being surprised because some fine print says that they've got to pay huge out-of-pocket expenses or they hit a lifetime cap. All those reforms are in there, and that's really important. Deficit neutrality, very important. Bending the cost curve, reducing healthcare inflation over time. Part of the reason that's so important, there was just a report came out last week. Kaiser Family Foundation said, if you've got health insurance, last year your premiums went up 5.5%, 5.5%. This is despite the fact that inflation was negative on everything else. And that's been true almost every year. Premiums have doubled, gone up over 130% over the last 10 years. That's the direction we're heading. More and more people are finding that their employers are dropping their coverage because it's getting too expensive. So making sure that we are controlling the long-term costs by improving the delivery systems, all that's in the bill. Now, there are a whole bunch of details that still have to get worked out. I suspect you'll have one or two questions about them. But what I'll say is that right now I'm pleased that basically we've got 80% agreement. We've got to really work on that next 20% over the last few weeks.
One of the issues is how to pay for it, and one of the things Chairman Baucus does, and you have endorsed, at least in concept, is putting a fee, slapping a fee on these so-called Cadillac insurance plans. And the fee would go on the insurance company, not on the individual.
Exactly.
But as you know, many of your allies, Senator Rockefeller, other Democrats, and many union presidents who have helped you in this fight say, you know what, that insurance company will pass that on to the consumer, and they think it's a backdoor way potentially of violating your promise during the campaign to not raise taxes, not hurt middle-class Americans, because that will be passed back on through the back door.
Keep in mind that the average insurance plan, I think, is about $13,000. Maybe a little more than that because of healthcare inflation. Even the healthcare plan that members of Congress get is, in that range of the teens, and so people would be, for the most part, completely unaffected by this. You do have some Cadillac plans. I mean, the CEOs of Goldman, I think, published what their plans were worth. They were worth $40,000 or something like that. That's probably leading to
would you make sure, I
some
hate to interrupt,
waste.
but would you make sure that some of these unions have negotiated pretty good plans too?
Oh, absolutely.
Would you make sure theirs are carved out, or should some of them be subject to that?
This is a very important issue. I've been talking to the unions about it. I've been honest with them about it. What I've said is that we want to make sure that guys are protected, guys and gals who got a good benefit, that they are protected. But we also want to make sure that we're using our health dollars wisely. And I do think that giving a disincentive to insurance companies to offer Cadillac plans that don't make people healthier is part of the way that we're going to bring down healthcare costs for everybody over the long term.
It is not one of the central issues, but it has become one of the emotional flashpoints, and that is coverage of illegal immigrants. The Finance Committee plan is the only one in Congress right now that has specific language that says an illegal immigrant cannot go to one of these new health insurance exchanges. It requires documentation. Would you sign a bill without that documentation, or is that an adamant red line for you?
Let me be clear. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, almost all the plans had specific language saying that illegal immigrants would not be covered. The question really was the enforcement mechanisms strong enough? Here's what I've said, and I will repeat. I don't think that illegal immigrants should be covered under this health care plan. There should be a verification mechanism in place. We do that for a whole range of existing social programs, and I think that's a pretty straightforward principle that will be met.
Mitch McConnell told the conservative group, we're winning the health care debate. What do you think of that?
Well, they were saying they were winning during the election, too.
Let me move on to the world stage.
Yeah.
You face a very tough decision in the weeks ahead about Afghanistan. Our Pentagon correspondent, Barbara Starr, says she has been told that General McChrystal has finished his report and his recommendation to you, but he has been told, don't call us, we'll call you. Hold it. Are you or someone working for you asking him to sit on that at the moment because of the dicey politics of this?
No. Let me describe the process from start to where we are now. When we came in, I think everybody understood that our Afghanistan strategy was somewhat adrift, despite the extraordinary valor of the young women, men and women who are fighting there. So what we said was, let's do a soup to nuts reevaluation, focusing on what our original goal was, which was to get Al-Qaeda, the people who killed 3,000 Americans. To the extent that our strategy in Afghanistan is serving that goal, then we're on the right track. If it starts drifting away from that goal, then we may have a problem. What I also said was, we've got an election coming up. I ordered 21,000 troops in to secure that election. But I said, after the election's over, we've got to review it, because we've got to figure out what kind of partner do we have in Afghanistan. Are they willing to make the commitment to build their capacity to secure their own country? We are in the process of working through that strategy. The only thing I've said to my folks is, A, I want an unvarnished assessment, but B, I don't want to put the resource question before the strategy question. Because there's a natural inclination to say, if I get more, then I can do more. But right now the first question is, are we doing the right thing? Are we pursuing the right strategy? And once I have that clarity from the commanders on the ground, Secretary Gates, my national security advisor Jim Jones, and others. When we have clarity on that, then the question is, okay, how do we resource it? And that's what I will say to the American public is not going to be driven by the politics of the moment. It's going to be driven by the fact that A, my most important job is to keep us safe, and Al-Qaeda is still trying to do us harm. But B, every time I sign an order, I'm answerable to the parents of those young men and women who I'm sending over there, and I want to make sure that it's for the right reason.
On that point, about a month before the election, you promised a refocused national security strategy, and you said, quote, "We will kill bin Laden, we will crush Al-Qaeda."
Yeah.
As president, commander-in-chief, are you finding it's harder to find him than you thought it might have been as a candidate?
Oh, I think as a candidate I knew it was going to be hard. I don't doubt the interest and the desire of the previous administration